This week on the Caterpillar Cross Stitch channel, I'm going to teach you 4 quick and easy ways to start your thread for cross stitching. Hi, I'm Ford, and this is my supervisor, Nugget the parakeet. You know the drill, like, subscribe, yada yada yada. Let's just jump straight into the lesson. Now, if you're self-taught, or if you're coming to cross-stitching from hand sewing or from quilting, your first instinct for how to start your thread is probably to tie a knot. Let me do a quick impression of the reaction that you will get from a cross-stitcher if they see you tying a knot in your floss. You're gonna need a prop here. And seam. Okay. Yes, they're real. Knots are commonly used throughout a lot of needlework and handcraft, but there are a few reasons that we don't generally use them in cross-stitching. They're often considered a sin, and I wouldn't go that far, but there are some good reasons to avoid them. Number one, because of how loose the weave of the fabric is that we usually use in cross-stitching, you have to tie a knot pretty big to keep it from just pulling straight through. And if I tie a knot that's big enough, say a quilter's knot with 4 or 5 wraps of the floss around the needle, then it's going to create a problem for me later. Because in cross-stitching we use the same hole in the fabric multiple times, often at least 4 times, sometimes even more. And so that knot being in the way and blocking that fabric is going to deflect my needle when I need to put it through the same spot in the fabric later. And that's going to result in untidy looking stitches. The other thing is that that creates a bump on the back of the fabric. So when I go to finish that, it's going to create a lumpy surface for my finish. So what do we do instead? Well, first let me show you the way that I was originally taught to start a thread in cross-stitching. What I would do is I would start on the back of my fabric, and I would put my needle through and I would pull most of the thread through. And I would put my finger on that little tail, whoop, and then I would turn the project back around to the front. And then I would hold that little tail against the back of the fabric with one hand and make my first stitch with the other hand. So that I was basically just stitching over the top of the tail. Let me show you what that looks like on the back. So from underneath, you can see that my little return stitches, the ones on the back of the fabric, are covering up that tail. And the friction from those stitches being on top of that tail will hold it in place, but it's a little bit unsteady while I do it. Now then, for subsequent threads, I would just start next to where I had started that one, and I would use my needle to kind of tuck my thread underneath the existing stitches, and that way I could have the tail buried without having to bury it with those first few stitches. But the first one was a little bit precarious. Now that does create the problem of having all of these little bits that are tucked on the back, and it involves turning the project over several times each time I need to start a new thread. And if you're using a stand, then that can be a bit cumbersome. So the next way, it still involves stitching over the tail, but it doesn't involve flipping the project over a bunch of times, and it doesn't involve holding onto a little tail on the back with one hand while you stitch with another until you can get it locked down. So what I'll do is I'll actually start with a knot for this one. I'll just tie a little quilter's knot in the end here by pinning the end of my thread against my finger, wrapping the thread around the needle once, pinching that thread, and then pulling my needle. That will put one tiny little knot all the way at the end of my thread. So what I'll do from there is I'll take my needle a few stitches into the area that I'm going to be stitching toward. So I tend to stitch from left to right, so I'm going to start by putting my needle in a few stitches to the right of where I'm going to start. And I'll make sure not to pull on that knot too hard. And then I'll just make my first few half stitches. Now that knot on the front is holding that in place for me, just like my fingers were doing before. So it's basically the same underlying principle, but it's using a simple and basic, and this is important, temporary knot to hold that tail in place while I stitch over it. So if we look at the back again, you'll see that that looks largely the same, with a set of return stitches going over the top of a tail. Then, once I get over to where my knot is, I'll just grab that tail, lift the knot up away from the surface, and give it a little snip. Then, my next stitch going through that hole will pull what remains of it down to the back so that it's completely hidden from the front. This is what's known as the waste away knot method. And that one is nice because it combines the simplicity of the stitching over the tail method with not having to constantly flip your project over. Now, if you want to learn more about cross-stitching, I cannot overstate the value of being in a cross-stitch centric community, like the following of the Caterpillar Cross Stitch Instagram or the members of the Caterpillar Cross Stitch Facebook group. There's so many people in those spaces with tons and tons of experience that it's just an amazing resource to level up your skill or to motivate one another and keep working on projects, that kind of stuff. So make sure you check those out. Now, the next one is called a pin stitch, and it's also quite popular due to how secure it is and how tidy it is on the back of the project. Now, as we know, a cross stitch consists of two pieces. You have two halves of a stitch. You have a slash and a backslash, and those two crossing stitches are what make the little X of the cross stitch, hence the name. And so what we're going to do with the pin stitch is we're going to take one of those two stitches and we're going to actually split that into two pieces, 2 quarter stitches. That way we can kind of make a figure 8 path through the fabric with our thread, and that will put a lot of friction on the thread and lock it into place. So if we're going to start with a pin stitch, what we want to do is we want to bring the needle down through the fabric in one of the 2 holes that we are not going to use for the first half of our cross stitch. So I usually do the stitch from bottom left to top right of the stitch. So I would use either the top left or the bottom right hole for the square that I'm going to be stitching in, because I want my tail to be out of my way for those first 2 partial stitches. So I'm going to take my needle down through the fabric most of the way, leaving just a short little tail here, enough for me to keep my finger on it for the moment. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my needle up actually through the center of the square. Normally we don't want to pierce the fabric when cross stitching, but this is a case where we're going to take advantage of that friction by piercing the fabric. So then I will bring my needle down through the bottom left corner, and that will make the first half of my half of a cross stitch. And then I'm going to make the other half of that half of a cross stitch by bringing my needle up through the top right, and then going again down through that middle. Now, normally when you're cross stitching, you try not to pierce your needle through your working threads, because for one thing, if you make a mistake and you have to pull those back out, that thread's going to be ruined. You won't be able to redo the stitches there. It also makes it harder to consistently place your stitches so that you get nice even stitches. But in this case, by piercing our needle through that little piece of thread, we're actually able to lock that stitch in place, because now this piece of thread is passing through this piece of thread, so this piece of thread can't come undone. So then I will just make the other half of my stitch, bring it up here, and again I'm going to pierce through this thread right here in a way that I normally would not, and that will lock that in place. And you can do that right when you do the first half of the stitch, or if you are a Danish method stitcher like me and you're going to go down the row and do all those half stitches, you can do all those half stitches and then complete your pin stitch when you get back. So now I can just continue on with my stitching from this point, and at my leisure I will just snip that off. Now another stitch is going to go through that hole later, and that will hide that little piece of tail that's there. But one of the advantages of the pin stitch is that it doesn't have that long tail running underneath all the stitches. So it just creates a slightly tidier back. if you're one of those people who really cares about how the back looks, the pin stitch might be a good one for you. Now, the only real drawbacks to the pin stitch are that it is a little bit difficult to master, so it takes some practice to do it and have the stitches stay secure. It also is a little bit too secure sometimes, so if you make a mistake and you have to come back and remove those stitches, removing your pin stitch can be a little bit of a pain. Now, the last one that I'm going to show you is one that over the last few years has become very popular and is probably the most commonly used starting method in cross stitch, even though maybe 10 years ago most people had never heard of it, and that is known as a loop start. And a loop start is really interesting because rather than using 2 strands of floss, which is what we stitch with most of the time, we're going to use one long piece of floss which we have folded in half. So that leaves what we sometimes call a loop, but which is technically known as a bight, B-I-G-H-T, at one end and 2 ends at the other end. And then we're going to feed both ends of that piece of floss through the eye of our needle. I'm going to show you the easy way to do this, which is from the front of the fabric. So the nice thing about this is that it doesn't have a tail that runs underneath the existing stitches, and that instead of relying on the friction from the fabric and the thread, we're actually just going to be basically hitching our first stitch onto the fabric. So we put the needle down through the surface of the fabric and pull it until just a little bit of the thread is left, until that bight is the only thing that's on top. Then we'll bring the needle back up where we need it to make the first half of our first stitch. And we just stick the needle through that bight, and then we pull it down until it gets flat on the surface of the fabric. Now that is secure, obviously. Unless the thread breaks, that is not coming off. So then we just put our needle down through one side or the other of that half of a stitch that we just made. And we can kind of gently guide that little bight over to the corner of the stitch, and just a little bit of a tug and it pulls back through. And so that is a started thread. That is ready to go. We can just start stitching now. If you don't want to miss out on any upcoming Caterpillar cross stitch patterns, stitch alongs, socials, retreats, that kind of stuff, make sure you sign up for our newsletter. There's a link in the video description or in the first pinned comment. And as soon as you sign up, you'll get a free ebook with 10 free PDF cross stitch patterns in it worth £60. So make sure you hit that link. Now, there are a few disadvantages to the loop start, including it's a lot harder to do with an odd number of threads, like 1 or 3, though there are some tutorials on this channel for how to do that. It doesn't work great if you are using variegated floss, because the color changes in the floss are not going to match up because you folded it in half. So you're going to wind up with kind of a muddied look of the multiple colors instead of a consistent shift across the stitches that you do. And some people think that it makes the stitches less tidy because the thread has a natural twist to it. It's known as the nap of the thread. And normally when you take 2 pieces of thread out of your skein, they're going to have the same nap if you start from the same end and don't get them mixed up. But when you fold the piece in half, those 2 ends are going to have contrary naps. One is going to be twisting clockwise and one is going to be twisting counterclockwise. And a lot of people think that makes the stitches look less tidy. But personally, I actually see that as a feature of this technique rather than as a bug, because since you have those 2 twists countering one another, it makes it so that the thread doesn't twist and knot up as much when you're pulling your stitches through. I think that you get less knotting when you use the loop start than if you use a traditional tail tuck or waist away knot start. Anyway, that is all I have for you this week. I do want to thank you so much for watching. For Caterpillar Cross Stitch, my name is Ford. That was Nugget, and we'll see you next week.